My name is Guobin Yang. I'm Associate Professor of Communication and Sociology at Penn. My research interests really are very interdisciplinary, covering both issues in sociology and communication. Now, more specifically, I work on issues of social movements, online activism, political communication, and media and communication in China. My research projects are mainly in three areas. I've been doing work on the Chinese Cultural Revolution, on the rise of the environmental movement in China, and on internet activism. The theoretical thread among all these different programs about the rise and consequences of popular protest and collective action. Now, these theories have been developed mainly based on the analysis of social movements in the West. And when I look at the cases in China, I find some quite intriguing differences. For instance, in China, it's not as common to have social movement organizations, and therefore Chinese protesters do not have the kind of social movement organizational resources. And the political structures are quite different too. But at the same time, ever since the Cultural Revolution, which is the time frame I cover in my research, there has not been any shortage of popular protest. So what is important for me then is to look at both political opportunities and organizational resources, but at the same time, cultural factors. What other cultural factors might be important for collective action under different political conditions? In terms of the empirical project, these three projects, they have some significant differences, obviously. They are social movements in different periods. The Cultural Revolution was from 1966 to 1976. And I mainly looked at the consequences of the movement on those who participated in the movement. In other words, it's about the biographical consequences of social movement participation. What happened to those activists, years and decades afterwards? Do they continue to be interested in political issues, to be engaged in activism? The study of the environmental movement is slightly different. One part of the study about environmental movement is to look at how Chinese environmental activists are appropriating global forms of environmental activism. For instance, the form itself, the organizational form of NGO, becomes somewhat different in the Chinese local context because of the political conditions. The final main project, which is about the internet activism in China, to look at social media. In recent years, social media, microblogging, has really become the most important development in recent years in China. And a lot of the new online activism cases happen on the microblogging platform. So I have a new project studying these kind of activism on microblog platforms. And at the same time, I'm also looking at how state agencies are adjusting, modifying their tactics of regulating, controlling, and censoring online activism because of the new kind of tactics used by activists. State authorities are also trying to adopt new forms of power and surveillance. So I'm looking at how this kind of development is both a response to internet activism and at the same time might also be the kind of new forms of power, practicing new forms of surveillance may be used to not only monitor digital activists, but may be applied to the surveillance of society at large.